Hello and welcome. We're to our next instructional video. Now that we're done with the Lackey basics, it's about time we start talking about TerraZone Clash of Creatures itself, my homemade card game that you are able to play for free here on LackeyCCG. First off, though, you'll need to know how to build a deck so that you can actually play the game. I have here a sample of one of my own decks that I made a while ago while I was test playing my game with my friends. Just some basic things you'll need to keep in mind when deck constructing. Now, a TerraZone deck has a minimum and a maximum of 50 cards, so you can run 50 cards in your deck, no more, no less. In addition to your 50 cards in your main deck, you are allowed up to one terrain card for your deck. Now, the terrain card counts as a 51st card, but it is not included in your main deck when you're shuffling your deck and getting ready to play the actual game. It's a card that you play at the very start of your game before shuffling your deck. You'll learn more about terrain cards in the actual gameplay video that I will be making probably next. But know that your main deck is 50 cards, no more, no less, and up to one terrain card. You may choose not to run a terrain card, but if you don't run one, you'll be at a bit of a disadvantage since it has a handy effect that you can use all throughout the game. It's a continuous card that never leaves the field and cannot be discarded in any way during the actual gameplay. Now, you can have any number of skill, support, or equipment in your deck. However, assist creatures, these gray ones right here, you can have no more than 12 assist creatures in your deck. You can have less than that, but similar to the terrain, if you run less, you run the risk of not running into them and making use of their powerful and handy effects. Hence why since they have more powerful effects than the other cards, usually, that's why they are limited to 12 cards or less. Now, skill creatures, which are these creatures here that have a colored outside border and a blue skill box, or effect box if you want to call it that. Skill creatures, you can have up to 3 of any same named skill creature in your deck. So in this case, you're allowed up to 3 wing defenders in your deck. This rule also applies to support creatures, which have the colored outside border, and they have an orange effect box. Like the skill creatures, you can have no more than 3 copies of any same named support creature. This rule also applies to equipment cards, which have an orange outside border and an orange effect box. You can have up to 3 of any same named equipment in your deck. The only type of card, aside from terrain, that does not abide by that rule is the assist creatures. You can have up to 2 of any same named assist creature in your deck. So in this case, you can have up to 2 Marcos in your deck. Now, aside from that, you can build your deck any way you wish as long as you follow the basic rules, which are, as a quick review, your deck contains 50 cards, no more, no less, and up to 1 terrain card. And you can have up to 3 of any same named skill creature, support creature, and equipment. And you can have up to 2 same named assist creatures within your deck. Now, once you follow all those basic rules, however you build your deck is up to you. I highly suggest that you do a fairly good balance of skill creatures and support creatures and equipment in your deck, with equipment probably being run at the least, since these are the only cards within your main deck that can't actually do battle. So there are cases where they may be the least useful to you. However, equipment cards do have fairly useful effects as well. So not including them in a deck would also not, it could speed your deck up. However, you could lose out on using some powerful effects as well within your main deck. Yeah, so a good combination of skill support creatures in your deck. You may find this balance out for yourself, or experiment to see what may be too much or what may be too little. Aside from that, that's basically how you build a basic deck. Now, as far as deck themes are concerned, you are free to mix elements and do anything you wish as long as you follow the basic deck rules. But as a starting point, if you're looking for deck themes to start off with, you can make an Earth Element deck, which are creatures that have a brown outside border. They come as, all these element creatures come as both skill and support creatures. So you could run Earth skill support creatures in your deck and just make a general Earth theme. You can run a Wind deck like I have here. The Wind creatures have a green outside border. You could run a Fire deck, which are these creatures here. They have a red outside border. You could also run a Water theme deck, which have a blue outside border, and so on and so forth. There are also two elements that are new to the game, which are, well, new as in newest. We have lightning creatures that have yellow borders, and we have toxic creatures that have a more pinkish, purplish color on the outside. So those are some general starting points you could take for building your own TerraZone deck to play with. You could start with elements, and as you gain experience playing TerraZone, you may exploit the game and find things that no one else has seen yet. Make some sort of unique twist, like an Earth-Wind hybrid deck that does a certain thing, or a deck that has all the elements, but they all have a little something in common. I mean, this is completely open-ended. It's up to you entirely in regards to that. One last thing that I should bring up in terms of deck building basics is there are certain creatures that have a high rank, which are these creatures right here, the ones that are rank 3. They have a yellow circle with a number 3 in the center up there in the top right corner of a card. These are creatures that you may not want to include many copies of in the deck, as the rank 3 creatures are kind of like your boss cards in the game. They're like the creatures that can only be played under certain conditions, and of course we'll go over that in the how to play video. But this is the one type of creature that you may not want to add multiple copies of in a deck. A good, I found 4 is a pretty good number. You could go less than that. You could maybe try 5. But I would not put too many of these in, as they cannot be played to the field right away and can only be played under a certain condition. Aside from that, I believe that is all you need to know about how to build a deck for TerraZone, or at least the basics. So stay tuned for a how to play video so that you'll learn how to play the game.